Gesher Sameho, Gesher Sameho, Gesher Sameho, Oh, Haolam Kulo, Gesher Sameho, Gesher Sameho, Behayikar, Behayikar, Lo Lefachet, Lo Lefachet, Behayikar, Behayikar, Lo Lefachet, Klal. Yai, lai, 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 la, 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 lai, 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 la, 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 lai, 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 lai.
Lo lefache, the world is a narrow bridge, but the main essence is not to be afraid. We have a congregation here who is joining us live in person, socially distant.
You're missing hundreds here.
There are thousands, actually. You will not know till you come in person. But we are enjoying our beautiful outdoor sanctuary and are so glad for the first Shabbat in quite a few months to be together. Looking forward to welcoming the new year in the coming week. And I'm hoping it can be outdoors, but I guess not. So we will socially distance as well and enjoy the Shabbat together. And so we begin by kindling the lights of Shabbat. And can I throw my para-rabbi Lorraine under the bus to light the candles in her temple breath or mass? I'm only worried about the other people playing with fire. The other thousands. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel So far, so good. The last Shabbat lights of this Jewish year, 5781. And our text says Shalom Aleichem, but Mark Rossio says it's going to be as the Spirit moves him.
We missed Tine Mato, and I think it's important that we do this because it really is exciting that we're all together.
And we're together virtually.
Absolutely. Hey, Matoru Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hey, Matoru Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hey, Matoru Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Toru Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Ma Toru Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Ma Toru Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hinei ma Toru Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad.
And those who are willing and able and comfortable, we ask you to rise for our Varchu, our call to worship.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya 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 la la la. Baruch hu Adonai Hamevorah Le'olam Va'ed Le'olam Va'ed Yalla lai 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 Yalla lai lai lai.
Eternal God, whose temple is the whole world and whose dwelling place is the human heart, we know that you are everywhere and that your presence never leaves us. Yet we are thankful for appointed times and chosen places where in fellowship with one another our spirits turn to you. At this service, this hour, and in this place, help us to feel your nearness. The week of toil is ended, the day of rest has come, and we pause to reflect on the meaning of our lives. Source of all creation, you have given us the blessing of work so that by our efforts we may fashion things and use the moments of helpfulness. You have also given us Shabbat for the self-renewal and sanctification. May the work of our hands and minds be acceptable to you. May this Shabbat enrich our lives, drawing us closer to you in truth and in love.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Elohim Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
And we are seated. Continuing with the first paragraph of the Shema as it appears in Deuteronomy. Yahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'kol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinanta levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha u'leftecha b'aderet u'shofecha u'kumecha u'shartam le'ohod al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'ktabtam amzuzot beitecha u'visharecha L'ma'an tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher Hotzei Etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim Lidyon Lachem Le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. And Elie Wiesel has taught, if we have learned one thing from our past, it is that to live through dramatic events is not enough. One has to share them and transform them into acts of conscience. Then will we sing as the Israelites did as they marched from slavery to freedom. Nichamo.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha legar b'kodesh. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha legar b'kodesh. Torah Tehillah, Osef Eleh. Torah Tehillah, Osef Eleh. Adonai, Yimloch le'olam va'ed. Ya la la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la.
And again, those who would like to rise for the Amidah, the central prayer of our liturgy. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah El Hagadol Hagibor B'Hanorah El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Zikonei Hakol Vizoker Chasdei Avot V'Imahot Umei Gula Lifnei B'neihem Laman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Maged Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atagibu le'olam Adonai. V'chayei hakol ha'tara laHoshia. V'chalkel chayim v'chesed. V'chayei hakol v'rachamim rabim. So make no fleeing v'rofei cholim. Umatir asurim. Umakayem emunato. Lishenei ahachar. Michamocha ba'al givurot. Umido melech. Melech beini tumachayeh. Umatzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman ata lahachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalalu b'selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. And we are seated. We believe in tomorrow. We believe that we have the power to make tomorrow different from today. We believe that poverty need not be permanent and that people need not learn war forever. We believe in people despite all we know about them. We believe that there still can be a time of peace, a time of justice, a time of fellowship, and a time of tranquility for all who live on earth. We believe that we can have a share in bringing that day closer by the way in which we live in the week to come. Even though the world may smile at our dreams, it doesn't matter, for we still believe. No, that's not yet. No, I don't. We're taking a small break to look for the Misha Barak prayer, which is your opportunity to type names in that you would like dedicated for a prayer for healing. At this moment, we pray for something even bigger than individual healing. We ask for shalom, the healing of the entire world. And so we continue with Shalom Rav, asking God for this year to be the year that much shalom and great peace can come upon us.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Chasid Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Chasid Leolam. Ki ata Melech Adon V'cho HaShalom. אתה מלך אדון וכל השלום שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם בטוב עיניך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה לשלומך שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם תשים לעולם תשים לעולם.
Sometimes praying for the whole world is too much. So we turn to our Misha Barak prayer, where we turn our attention to the one individual or the few individuals in our lives in need of healing. Of course, all of us know someone with COVID, and there are so many out there who are suffering under this pandemic. So we pray for healing for every one of those individuals in our community, in our temple family, in our own families, and in the world. And we also add the names of individuals in our community for whom we pray for healing. If you'd like to mention those names, we ask you to do so now. And again, type them in the comments if you have names to remember.
No, I'm just saying, she pointed out there.
Got names on Zoom.
You have them? Can you read them? Because I don't see them yet.
Raleigh Lay, Brittany M, Moya Shea, Sandy Johnson, Dan Foley, and Rick Brooks.
We also pray for healing for Martin Robbins and for Margot Marks. And of course, in our community, Arlene Graham as well. For them all and for all who we think of in our hearts, we pray the words, Mishabera, the one who blesses.
Shebera avotenu, kor abrecha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage, make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Ishebera imotenu, the core abrecha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And let us say, Amen.
Healing wishes also to Andrea Abrams, Virgil Daly, and Deb Sharp. For our own private prayers, thoughts, and meditations, we take just a moment.
This is the moment as time rolls by, for my silent prayer to Adonai. Prayer of thanks for all my blessings, prayer of compassion for all in need, a prayer of knowledge for I keep guessing, a prayer between God and me. Close your eyes, say a prayer. Adonai will be there. Prayer of thanks for all my blessings, prayer of compassion for all in need, a prayer of knowledge for I keep guessing, prayer between God and me, prayer between God and me, prayer between God and me.
So as we close out this year, this Hebrew year, which has been so daunting and which has required so much caring and maybe empathy overload from so many of us when there's so many things and demands made upon us. I would like to share a story, not a sermon, Gary, a story, which is told by the Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, who was a mystic and who was a storyteller, and I suppose he was also quite a womanizer, so nowadays he's not PC to tell his stories. But there's so much wealth and so much wisdom, I think, that we can learn from every individual. And he told this story about Rabbi Kalonymus Kalman Shapiro of Piaseczno, who was the greatest Hasidic rabbi. He was the rabbi, I've talked about him before, because he served in the Warsaw Ghetto during those horrible years of confinement during World War II, and of course before. And Rabbi Shapiro regularly gave inspiring, beautiful messages of hope and perseverance under the worst of circumstances. The kind of closing in and quarantine that the Jews in the Warsaw Ghetto had, make it look like a picnic what we've lived through. And he had amazing tales to tell and sermons to give. And he wrote all of his homilies down on little scraps of paper, whatever could be found. When the time came that he knew the end was drawing near, he handed all of these loose scraps of paper over to Emanuel Ringelblum, who created a whole collection in milk tins called Oineg Shabbat Archives, where everyone wrote down their daily lives and their diaries and their thoughts. And of course, included in this was the rabbi's stories. When the canisters were discovered after the pretty much razing of the ghetto and the death of almost everybody who lived there, the people went back and they unearthed these milk cartons and found an archive of amazing stories by the rabbi of Piaseczno. And his manuscripts later were published in Israel in 1956 under the name Eish Kodesh, or Sacred Fire. And so the story goes that this Rebbe, Rabbi Shapiro, had been one of the most amazing educators, and all the little boys just loved his classes, and he taught them so well, and they were so talented that he used to say, all my boys are so good that they can even eat on Yom Kippur. So Carlebach read this story after, of course, long after the war, and he became obsessed with meeting just one of the survivors, one of Rebbe Shapiro's children, his yeshiva buchers. He looked everywhere, and no matter where he went, he could never find anybody who remembered the rabbi from before the war. Then one day in the early 70s, he was walking down a street in Tel Aviv, and he noticed a hunchback street cleaner who was sweeping up the sidewalk. And for some reason, Rabbi Carlebach was drawn to him, and so he spoke to the holy hunchback, as he called him. And Rabbi Carlebach said, "Where are you from?" And he said, "Piaseczno." And the rabbi said, "Oh my gosh, do you know Rabbi Kalonymus Kalman?" And the man said, "Of course, I was one of his little yeshiva buchers from the age 5 until 11. And of course, Rabbi Carlebach was very excited. The street cleaner leaned on his broom and had a faraway look in his eyes and said, "Even when the rabbis took me to Auschwitz when I was 11, I was tall for my age, and so they thought I was 17. I was strong, but I didn't always follow orders and get terrible, terrible beatings. This is why I'm hunched over the way that I am. But I recovered, and I was able to come to Israel. My body is a wreck, but my spirit, I'm hanging on. Now I have no one in the whole world. All of my family was killed. No one would marry me because of the shape of my body. I have no children, and that is my life." And so Rabbi Carlebach was stunned. He said, "I've always wanted to meet one of Rabbi Kalman's students. Please, I'm begging you for this one kindness. Just tell me one lesson that you learned from the Rebbe in the yeshiva." And the hunchback street cleaner began sweeping and said, "Do you think that after 5 years in Auschwitz, I remember the teachings?" Rabbi Carlebach was not upset. He said, "Yes, I do, because the words of a holy man never disappear. They penetrate into you forever. And I promise with all my heart and everything I have, whatever you tell me, I will repeat all over the world. And so this is what the street cleaner told Rabbi Karlbach in Tel Aviv on that day. He said, there will never be a Shabbos like we used to have at the Rebbe of Piaseczno's. At Kabbalat Shabbat prayers, hundreds, thousands of children would dance around the Rebbe, who stood beaming like a king at the center of circles. And when the Rebbe made Kiddush, we all hummed with him. The amens were incredible. Throughout the meal, he would teach Torah, and he would say, Kinderlach, my precious, precious children, always remember and never forget, the greatest thing in the world is just to do someone a favor. By the time I arrived in Auschwitz, my whole family was dead and I wanted to kill myself. But each time I was about to do the deed, I would hear the Rebbe's voice. Always remember, never forget, the greatest thing in the world, just do someone a favor. You know how many favors we can do in Auschwitz? With people dying all around you, people crying beyond despair. The inmates didn't have any strength at all. They were just concerned with themselves. But I stayed up all night comforting people, finding scraps of food for the weakest or trying to cheer people up. And whenever I wanted to end it all, I would hear my Rebbe's voice. Even here in Tel Aviv, I'm all alone, and there's moments when I just want to end it all. One time I went up to the sea, up to my nose in water, but there was the Rebbe's voice again. Always remember, there is always one person you can help, and that's what I do. I'm still doing favors. I'm still alive. I'm still the student of my Rebbe. I'm still a good Jew. And the street cleaner patted Rabbi Karlbach on the shoulder, and he said, my friend, that is the teaching. Always remember, never forget, the greatest thing in the world is to do someone else a favor. And with that, he picked up his broom and went back to his sweeping. The encounter took place just before Rosh Hashanah, and after Sukkot, Rabbi Karlbach went back to Tel Aviv to check in again with the street cleaner, but he was gone. Apparently, he had died during Sukkot. But Rabbi Karlbach stayed true to his word and repeated the teaching of Rabbi Kalman at countless concerts and at every gathering. The message that he said came from the holy hunchback, as Rabbi Karlbach would say, had to live on. Always remember, never forget, the greatest thing in the world to do is do someone else a favor. We are entering a difficult new year, and following all of the rabbis' websites, it is overwhelming. Rabbis are feeling such stress. What message should I give? I need to ask people to help with Afghan refugees, help at the border. There's climate crisis. There are the California wildfires. There are the New York floods. There is so much of a pandemic to work towards healing. But perhaps the way not to be overwhelmed and not to be overdone is to simply do one person a favor. We only have 4 or 5 days till we greet the new year together. And perhaps the best goal of all is that every day, if we just do one favor for one person, we will keep the Rebbe's story alive, and we will indeed have done our share to heal the world. And that is our prayer, that we will just do one person, one favor, and we will indeed be blessed. And so we turn to the Aleinu, which is a vision of a day when God's name will be one, when we can help all of those, and that will be our reason for life. The Aleinu may be found on page 5 for those who are following along on our script, and we rise. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gedula l'yosef l'shit, shelo asanu k'boyei ha'asot, shelo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo samchelkenu kahem, v'dor aleinu k'kol hamonam. Va'anachnu
As it is written in Emma, let it be said, Naruliger. On that day God shall be one. Yehaya Adonai, the Melech HaKol Haaretz. On that day shall be one. Bayom Hahu, Yehaya Adonai Echad.
And we turn now to our Kaddish prayer, remembering all of those who came before us, who gave us the gift of a new life and a new year. During the holiday season, we miss them all the more so, and we give thanks for God that we had so many years of life with them. On this Shabbat, we mark the yahrzeit of Lillian Cream, Roberta Gordon, Faye Siegel, Louis Plotkin, Gustav Karsh, Mary Seidenschmidt, Adam Spalter, Scott Nelson, Joel L. Bernstein, Eddie Rose, Tom Karsh, Abraham Moltz. We mark as well with sadness the recent passing in these past weeks of Jeffrey Corner, Renee Diamond, and Terry Flack Sr. If there are any other names that you would like to mention, please type them in, and we will mention them as well after the Kaddish prayer. Together we recite Yit Gadal V'Yit Kadash Shamei Rabbah V'Alma Dibra Kirute V'Yamli Malchute B'Chaye Kon U'Vyome Kon U'B'Chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael B'Agala U'Bizman Kari V'Imru Amen. Yehei Shemayi Rabbah U'Barach Le'olam U'Olmei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudushat v'rifu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata d'amiram v'yama v'imru amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru. Amen. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, let peace rain down upon us, all Israel, and all the world. And we say, Amen. And we are seated. Any other names? No? We are ready to bring out the Happy New Year. Anything that our tradition leads us in.
Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'akulam. Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'akulam. Salam Aleinu Ve'al Kol Ha'olam. Salam, Salam, Salam Aleinu Ve'al Kol Ha'olam. Salam, Salam. Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'akulam. Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'akulam.
Shalom for all of us. Shalom and a wonderful Shabbat, a wonderful Labor Day. We will gather again, many of us, either on Zoom or in person on our Erev Rosh Hashanah service at 8 o'clock on Monday evening. We will be in the sanctuary. We will be masked, except individual singers who will come up and lead our songs as we join together and have a wonderful service. We look forward to those who would like to be with us in person. We look forward to welcoming people on streaming and on Zoom. We will also have Levin Hall set up for people who would like a smaller congregation but would like to be there. Perhaps we'll have children who would like to partake of the service as well. They, of course, can be with us or in Levin Hall. Or we invite you to create pray groups, just like play groups, where a few people can gather in one home who you already are friends and community with and share our services together. So we look forward to everybody being together and for a healthy and happy and more active and more present 5782 ahead. So Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom.